Hello, everybody. Like Jackson Shellstead through the lane, your broskies in basketball are here to cut through Tuesday's College Basketball DFS Slate and make the right plays so we can get this bread. Recording live from somewhere, this is One and Done.
Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
It's time once again for everybody to come aboard that Green Screens Media train. Welcome to One and Done, your fast break of college basketball information, powered by drroto.com. I am your usually humble host. My name is Jay Heinrich, the conductor of the aforementioned Green Screens Media train. Follow me on X at Dr. William Cannon, and I will follow you back. But let's get right to one of the absolute best in the business to do it. It is El Capitan himself, the captain of the Green Screens Media ship. Follow him on X at MCHolland34. The OG Money Mike, Mr. Mike Holland. What it do, baby?
I'm struggling, my guys. I'm struggling with this internet. I've struggled with my lineups today. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to hit this DK slate tomorrow. $12 entry, 2K to first, a $60 king of the bracket, seat number 11. So, I will be burning more money on that. And yeah, man, I'm just excited to roll through the slate. We got a fun 9-gamer coming right at us.
If you're going to be burning money tomorrow, just like we are, make sure you drop that fire emoji in the chat.
I need it tonight.
Yeah, it's a little bit cold down here in Central Texas where your broskies are. What was it? 18 degrees today down here at one point. Wind feels like 10 or something like that. But hey, we were out there. Me and Finley were out there hitting the test ball around. Ooh. Eric, you said pre-show y'all went to the park, right? I mean, what a day. What a day.
You got to get out there.
They got to get out there. And, of course, I am talking to the guy that is last in the intros, but he is first in your hearts, the Baron of Bread of Green Screens Media. Find him in those Twitter streets at FantasyNav. That's Eric the Blue. It's Mr. Eric Romoff. What's happening?
Man, we are a few minutes away from the Eagles finishing up a complete wampin, just getting their doors blown off by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which means that we are officially into Sunday-only NFL season. That opens the door for these beautiful DraftKings slates for all of our CBB brethren, right? Tuesdays, pretty much here on out. Maybe sometimes Wednesdays are going to be mega slates for these next few weeks. We are here breaking down this Tuesday's slates. And speaking of mega, this comment section is chock full of people. We got Mike Witzcall. Y'all got any of them Core Fours? In the old Tyrone Bigham's accent. Corey McDaniels, he loves the beanie. It is surface temperature 42 degrees in the studio right now. So I am trying to stay warm. Nape with the here we go, heating us up. He knows how to do it. Mama Rocks. What's going on, Mama Rocks? Thanks for swinging through, as always. And then Jason B., Chief Wahoo, making the appearance. Love the hat, Jay. Jay, your hat rotation is deep. You got a lot in your locker there.
There's quite a few. I'll continue to rotate them. Thanks for checking us out, Jason, as always, and shouting out the old sombrero there. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, everybody. Show your broskies in basketball some love. Leave us a comment if you're watching afterwards. If you're not live, that's okay. Just trying to get into, get ready for this Tuesday slate. That's totally fine. Leave us a comment anyway. Show us some love. Follow everybody on Twitter. Follow our guy at The Real Napier, Chris, who's been doing a great job here in the studio as well with us. And gentlemen, let's just hop into the old slate overview. Eric, I'll start with you. Some general thoughts before we really take a deep dive into the slate.
Yeah, 9-gamer that we think will lock at 6:30 Eastern tomorrow. To be determined on that. But looking across the board of these 9 games, not a single total that's under 143 points. So, a little bit more viability from top to bottom in terms of looking at all of the games potentially being in play, but also like a third of the slate features some pretty big underdogs, like double-digit spreads or more, including the 2 highest totals on the board, right? So, we're going to take a closer look at at minutes distribution, at how these guys play in potential blowout situations. That is going to be a big piece to focus on as we break down the slate. Unlike this Saturday main slate from a few shows ago, only 7 guys that are 8K or more on this one. So not quite as top heavy. It makes the ownership kind of concentrate onto those few top price guys. So figuring out ways to leverage off of that and what pivots to make will be cool for tomorrow's slate. And as is always, as is music to your ears, as is music to Corey's ears, this mid-tier is juicy. Feels like it's probably going to be another 300 plus kind of night to win. And, some of these guys that are, sub 7.5K, sub 7K are probably a bit underpriced, right? So the more that we have this kind of soft pricing on the mid-tier, the more that we see the overall winning total continue to inflate. So, Mike, those are the things that are jumping out to me. Is there anything else about this 9 gamer that's catching your attention?
Yeah, I think finding value is pretty brutal out here. I've been scouring away in the depths of hell here to find some guys that we want to play. There's not a ton of injury news right now, but that could all change. It typically does, right? There's usually 1 or 2 pop up, and it changes the entire slate. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to grabbing some value here in order to play someone like a 10.5 Zach Edey, along with some of these other studs at the very top. So if not, this mid-tier build, I think, does have a ton of upside as well. I think one of the keys, though, is like, what are we doing with these guys that are getting these big bumps since last Saturday? I mean, you got, Connect. He's going from 6,300 to 7,600. Blake Hinson's taking a roller coaster down the slope here, 7,200 to 6,200. Wow, we were using him as a core 4 piece not that long ago. And then guys that are just kind of either, kind of the steady decline or kind of the steady upward trajectory. How do we attack those? Like Tyler Perry, one of my favorites, is 7K. So yeah, this is a fun slate. We're gonna kind of break down these 4 showcase games and make sure we get you guys some green screens out there, like our guy at the Real Napier did, getting a 3rd place finish on the Saturday night slate. Ooh, shout out to him.
Came out and banked a 3rd. That was like his first slate, right? Maybe a 2nd. Just immediately coming out there with the greatness just pouring out of him.
Love to see it, and love to see it. Some of those mid plays, like our guy Corey, of course. The old single entry king there. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, and he wears it in that mid tier. But like Mike said, or like Eric said, actually, we've got quite a few games with some nice totals here, and we're going to break down at least 4 of them here. We like to do our showcase games, and we'll hit on some of these games. But we also, the 3rd, it's not annual, right? Because it's like 3 in like a couple, 5 or 6 weeks, maybe something like that. I can't say annual, but it's the 3rd time, the 3rd one and done DraftKings Invitational. And this one is actually a private contest. So what we're going to do is we are going to drop that in the chat, right? Let me see if are we going to get this in the live chat? Yes, we are. Okay, there we go. We're going to drop that into the live chat. Boom, right there in the live chat for you. We've got 15 spots, 3 in there right now. It's going to resize if it's not full because it's private, but let's get some breadheads in there for this contest, and let's start to build this up and just get some one and done contest rolling. I don't know if we want Jason B in there though, if he's going to be shipping early slate ones, $5.
Watch out, Corey.
Early slate on DK, single entry. There we go. Jason B coming for the title of the single entry king. Of course, Cam chiming in there. What's up, Cam? What is NC?
No.
11, Vincent Core 4. Man,
God,
like
Cam is an insider, man.
Cam might have to have Cam. Is Cam Trilly Donovan?
Is Cam Trilly?
Cam is the Trilly Donovan of DFS shows. He's got one of our tournament plays, Blake Hinson. Congratulations, Cam. Now name the other three before we end the show.
Cam, drop it in there and also tell us if you're
Calls
Trilly.
coming from
Okay,
inside the house.
and we'll be okay with it. But we're gonna get to our showcase games now, and as we do that, make sure you smash those like and subscribe buttons. Show your broskies some love and push them. What are we, 720 something now on the old subscriptions?
727.
727, like a jet airplane, I think is one of them. I don't know. Is that no? Maybe if it
going
ain't, it
high.
ought to be. And that's the trajectory your broskies are on as well. So make sure you hop on now and be a part of it. Do your part in the Green Screens Media universe. 4 showcase games, of course. We've got St. John's and Seton Hall. We've got Wake Forest and North Carolina State. We've got Butler and Xavier. And we've got one that we're going to have to pay a little bit of attention to. We are not 100% sure what they're going to do, how they're going to treat this. But right now, the Florida and Tennessee game, it's been moved up. The time has been moved up. It would have to start the slate at 5 p.m. Eastern time to fit them in due to the inclement weather. We don't know how it's going to affect it, but we are going to start off our showcase series with that game and treat it like they are playing it. Of course, make sure you're hanging out over there at Get Green Screens, and of course the show page at One and Done CBB on Twitter. We will give you an update on some plays to make if Florida and Tennessee are not involved in this slate. But let's go ahead and get into it. A 10-point spread here. Here's one of the big spreads we were talking about right in the open. Tennessee 10-point favorites. You know what you're going to get from Tennessee, 3rd in defensive efficiency, but both teams are top 25 in offensive efficiency. Both teams are top 100 in tempo, with Florida at 11th, 186th in bench minutes used for Florida, 289th in bench minutes for Tennessee. So, Mike, I'm going to start with you here. Florida right now using a hard 7-man rotation, and they're going to need to milk every single point they can out of those 7 guys in order to beat Tennessee.
Yeah, absolutely, Jay. And Tennessee, 83rd in tempo. That's pretty scary. But we'll start with the Florida side here. My favorite play, I guess I would go with Zion Pullen. He's the guard, 7,500. 22% usage rate, 21% shot rate, and he's shown a solid floor over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, this is a tough defense on the road, but we were actually having this conversation earlier that adjusted defensive efficiency is based on 100 possessions. So even though Tennessee's 3rd in defensive efficiency, they're playing way, way faster than they were last year, which is creating more possessions for the other team. So this is why we have an implied total of 85 to 75 here. So the Gators, they're going to get to 75 points. Feels like Pullen is going to have a lot to do with that. Tennessee kind of doing some things that Pullen can take advantage of. They're giving up 38% from 3 in conference play. That's actually 8 percentage points higher than they were during the non-conference. They're also 290th in free throw weight. So they're fouling a lot. And Pullen actually leads the team with a 57% free throw rate. So he's able to get to the line. He's able to knock down some threes, and he also carries a 27% assist rate. You feel like he's kind of the guy you want to get to, even though he's kind of a weird price for him. Would like to see him, closer to like 7,200, maybe even 7,000. Walter Clayton, you're getting a discount of $300 from Pullen. He's the guy that's going to chuck up a ton of threes. I mean, he's taken 96 already this year. Also a high usage and shot rate here, leads the team. And he's got nice rates. The tourney upside is it's kind of there. I don't know, this Florida side, it doesn't feel like you really want to stack this side per se. So you're really going to have to figure out like which guy is going to be the main hitter if they're able to get to that 75-point implied total. So, I mean, Clayton, he's in the tourney pool just because of that shot rate and how many threes he takes. But our guy down here, Riley Kugel at 6K, going to be real annoying. Coming off 2 games ago where he only played 4 minutes, and apparently him and Todd Golden had a sit down. And then there was a blowout the next game where he scored 33 fantasy points. that was all coming off of the Saturday slate where we had him, and he was actually playing well but couldn't stop fouling. So this whole deal is kind of a mess. He's another guy we'll have in the tourney pool, but it doesn't feel great because if he gets benched, it's your entire day's ruined. So definitely boom bust there. Like I said, not going to really stack any of these guys together. I mean, Florida's not really sharing the ball as much in conference play. Their assist rate's down 11%. So if I'm using anybody, it's probably pulling like hand locked in. Like, where's the upside at his price? Feels like he should be $500, $600, $700 cheaper than what he really is. So I don't really have any interest in hand locked in. I don't ever play Tyrese Samuel. Eric, like, can you give the folks a reason to play Tyrese Samuel, who is the price king on the Florida side at 7,800?
Not a good one. Look, like he's such a boom bust player, right? So because of that boom, like he'll continue to be, in the player pool for large field tournaments. But like, I mean, those busts are bad, right? He put up 37 in that last game. Then he had 19 and 18 in the 2 games prior to that, right? So like you're really taking on a lot of risk. And specifically in this game, right? Like that Tennessee front court is no joke. And a lot of what Tyrese Samuel is doing is buoyed by his 31% rebounding rate. So if he's not cleaning up the glass quite as readily against the Volunteers front court, it can really pull down his upside overall. I mean, look, if you're looking for a guy that, carries 40-point upside and is going to be like 1 or 2% owned tomorrow, that's probably Tyrese Samuel, right? Like he can definitely fit that bill for you, but it is certainly risky. Looking at the rest of the Florida side, I mean, if we want to save a little bit of money, we can spend a little time talking about Will Richard. 5.5K. I mean, he's getting that $300 price decrease. We like to jump on that as it is on the way down. They are getting paced up. It's, an 85-point projection. He's really, the captain of their ship. For me, I think he's much more, much more of a cash play type, right? Like we've seen his minutes move closer to 30 in the last couple of games. I don't know why you would really make him a priority, and unless you're, really trying to find a differentiated stack. And Mike, like you mentioned, with that assist rate going down in conference play, like stacking this game in general feels kind of weird. So, you can take a look at Richard, but I think you're probably getting a little too cute if you click the button.
Not one of the plays in the mid that I would look to make either. Cam hopping in the comments there asking about Connect, saying he's going to be popular, but is he a GPP fade for you guys? Can't fade completely, but I want to be under the field. It's understandable. Tennessee's really tightened things up. It's you might see 9 guys with their names in the box score, but we're really talking like 7 cats that are doing the majority of the work there. And we've been singing the praises of Zakai Ziegler and Dalton Connect. But Mike, at this price, let's start with Connect. At this price, he's one of the guys whose price jumped up a ton from, I think it was 1,300 from the last time out. But are you in on him still, regardless of that price?
Yeah, I think I have to. I mean, I like where Cam's coming from GPP, and maybe Cam has our core cash lineup and our core GPP lineup, so he knows which one Connect is in. And it's a thing where I would say for tournaments you want to be under the field, like Cam said, but I don't know how you do not click his name for a cash. Not clicking his name in double ups and small single entries and things like that. It just feels like you're asking for a world of trouble. I mean, so you can really just kind of use him in every situation. I mean, he's a monster. Like he should probably be priced around 8,500 to 9,000 with his upside. And he's got 95 fantasy points in the last 2 games where he's played monster minutes, and it's conference season. Like he's gonna play 35 minutes. So yeah, I mean, Connect is definitely someone that you have to have on your radar. But I can understand the point of maybe not going too crazy on him for tournaments for sure.
And Jason saying, connecting the dots may be the key to the slate if DK keeps the game. Yes, sir.
Let's see what he did there.
Correct there. I see what you did there. We like to little word play here. on one and done. But yeah, when you look at that 44 and 51 the last two times out, it's definitely juicy. It feels like he's plug and play. What about Ziegler though? Are you gonna spend up a little bit here with Ziegler at 8.3?
Well, you nailed the fade. I think you had him as the fade, 8,300. He only had 33 fantasy points last game, but gets a little bit of a haircut, as Eric likes to say, $300 down. It is a pace-up spot, so they're projected to score 85 points. So a couple of these guys can get there, and he's really the straw that stirs the drink, as we like to say. But he's more of a cash play too. Like I know he's got a 47, a 45, but that's not really who he is. Like all these other guys around him, he needs to obviously get them involved. So yeah, does he have double upside with assists? I think he does. I don't know. I would rather save $700 and pay Dalton Connect and save the $700 there. So really the only other guy that I feel like really comfortable with is Adu, who we had some of him, made a nice little run on Saturday. Got the big price jump as well. He's a double threat. Florida's giving up 54% from two, and then they have a 19% opponent shot block rate. I mean, he profiles nicely, and the ownership should go away after the increase. So what do you think about Triple J, Eric?
Yeah, Triple J is kind of an interesting one, right? Like we're talking about a ton of guys on this Tennessee side that are seeing their price increase. So, with Triple J staying flat at 6.5K, I mean, I love the way this one sets up for him in tournaments specifically, right? Like Dalton Connect is going to be, one of, if not the most popular player on the board tomorrow. So you're creating a ton of leverage by pivoting off him. And look, there's plenty of options for the Volunteers, but he's the one that consistently has 30-point upside, in this price range pretty regularly. So, I like the fact that they're in this pace-up game. That's typically the point where we see him put up his ceiling games. That coupled with the leverage you're getting off Connect, I mean, Jay might be a favorite Tennessee play on the board tomorrow. And then we obviously have to spend a moment talking about our guy Santiago Vescovi, 5.4K. I mean, he's certainly the cheapest way to get into heavy minutes on the Volunteer side, but also he's taken the biggest hit with the arrival of Connect and the rise of Adu, right? So like, this was a guy that was like 7K last year, and we were pretty happily playing him, right? So, he's still got that, that skill set and that athletic gift in there somewhere. He can reach back and touch it, but ultimately, like, I think you're probably getting a little too cute if you're going the Vescovi route. You can sprinkle them in where you're mass multi-entering, but I don't know if you should really go there outside of the largest of tournaments tomorrow.
Gonna want to get into this game, and it's probably not ideal looking at it, but you can go with Triple J. That is not Double J, Jeff, J-A-R-R-E-T-T, the former Intercontinental Champion, Jeff Jarrett. No, this is Triple J, Josiah Jordan James at 6.5. This is the mid-tier that I might be living in this area. I don't mind Vescovi. I do remember those days. I am young enough to remember when we played Vescovi
right?
Like 7.2. Like, this is
yesterday.
Definitely, yeah, it feels like it was. It was not, but it feels like it was for sure. All right, that's one down there. Obviously, we're gonna have to make sure that it does not get nixed, but we feel confident that it's going to be in there. So just pay attention to what's going on, and to @one and done CBB on X to make sure that you get all of the updates as they pop up. And Cam shouting in the live chat there. Shout out Mama K with 2 top 8 finishes in the $1 tonight. Mama Rocks, is this true?
Have a day.
Is this true? Shout out. If so,
nice.
And Cam, we love seeing that. We love seeing everybody in the Green Screens Media universe shouting each other out and spreading those positive vibes. We definitely appreciate that, and we love sharing those green screens as well. So thanks for dropping that in there, Cam. As we move on now to St. John's at Seton Hall, a 149-point total on this one. St. John's a road favorite, actually, in this one. Another set of teams that are extremely efficient, both top 50-ish in offensive efficiency, both top 100 in defensive efficiency. St. John's gets up and down a little bit, 76th in tempo. This is a pace-up spot for Seton Hall at 281st. Seton Hall is also 341st in bench minutes used. So as our guys from UGK used to say, that is super tight on the rotation there. But we're going to start with St. John's. Oh, Johnny's. Joel Soriano and his new band of pals. A little bit bigger rotation here to accommodate for all of the talent that was brought in the portal this past season. But they do it well, and they're obviously, road favorites here against the Pirates.
Yeah, so, man, this St. John's team is kind of annoying. You just don't know, who's starting. Two things. Joel Soriano starting. He's going to play 28 to 32 minutes. And Danish Jenkins is going to play 30-plus minutes, and he's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. That's really all you can, clearly say for this St. John's team. Now they're implied for 75 points. This game has a chance to go to overtime already, and it hasn't even tipped. So I'm excited about that aspect of it, which is probably going to get me in trouble. But we'll start with Soriano. He's 8K. Get the guy more shots. I'm just going to say it every slate. It seems like St. John's is always in our showcase. He's at a 21% shot rate. If he had a 25% shot rate, he would be going into the 40s early and often. But you still love that he, has multiple double-doubles this year, 10% assist rate, still blocking shots at a 6% rate. So, Seton Hall, they're pretty bad on the offensive end about getting their shot blocked by the opponent. And they also struggle on the defensive boards. So actually both teams are pretty terrible on the defensive glass. So there's a lot of opportunities for those cheap little putbacks, for those little 3.25 plays that we love to see. So we'd love to see Soriano get 2 or 3 of those to get you, 1 to 1.5x on some cheapies. So I will be using Soriano at this price tag, even though I wish he was getting more shots and maybe even a little more run. They like to use Xavier, for 8 to 12 minutes. Soriano he can't get into foul trouble. Otherwise, he's going to get in trouble there. Danish Jenkins, he is 7,600. The rates are just staying pretty much constant throughout the year. A 25% usage rate. He's got a 26% shot rate, a 36% assist rate, a 3% steal rate. He's taking a bunch of threes. He's not making many of them. Really the only guy, like we said, that you can guarantee he's going to be on the court for 30 minutes. So he's in line for cash games, also tournaments. Seton Hall, 321st in the country in opponent assist rate. They're even 4% worse than that in conference play. So Danish Jenkins has 35 to 40 fantasy point upside even on the road here, even though he is matched up against a pretty strong Kadari Richmond. So he's definitely a tournament play that you can go to. RJ Luis, all these other guys, man, Luis is 6,300. If he was 5,300, I'd probably play him like he was, a week or so ago. But you still know if he's going to get 20 minutes or if he's going to get 28 minutes. So, there's an opportunity bump here. Seton Hall's turning the ball over via the steal rate. 12%. So it's actually kind of a surprise that Seton Hall is 5-1 right now in conference. The metrics are gonna show some regression here pretty soon in some of these games, and we're gonna see a couple of these teams that they're playing have big games. It's just the problem with St. John's, like Jay mentioned, they're 112th in bench minutes used. So there's just a lot of guys getting court time. I'd love to play Chris Ledlam, Eric, but the price is annoying, the minutes are annoying. How can we do it?
Man, how the mighty have fallen. Chris Ledlam, someone that we couldn't quit at one point, and now we're just completely scratching our heads, which I think kind of underscores the point. These last couple of slates, figuring out St. John's has been key to winning several of them. With Ledlam, you mentioned his minutes. They are on the rise, right? You played 14 in that first game back. That increased up to 21 in the prior game, right? So moving in the right direction. He's one of these guys that if you told me he's getting 30 minutes, I would just click the button in tournaments and
slot him in, right? You just
how
you doing? Keep it moving, but you ain't playing 30 minutes.
It'd be open and shut. And the thing with like this version of St. John's, it's like you're prioritizing Soriano or you're prioritizing Jenkins, and then everyone else, unfortunately, Lidlam including, is like there's no guarantee, right? So like very literally spinning the wheel. But I mean his rates are so solid across the board. Like he's got so many outs, so many ways to get there that I don't mind taking the risk on him if you do feel like spinning the wheel. Beyond that, I mean, Naheem Aline is there, right? He is among the players that is getting a little chunk of minutes in this rotation. 4K flat, you don't mind that. You don't love his 9 and 10 point performances in the last 2 games, right? So like, especially if we get early enough reporting to say that he's going to be out there starting, that's the point where he's getting into those kind of mid-teen, upper teen kind of performances. These last couple of games he's played 26, 25 minutes. He's super shot dependent, right? So like there's not a ton of value on this slate where we sit right now. So getting a guy that can get mid-20s minutes and maybe strokes a bucket or two and starts off hot, that's not the worst thing in the world for 4K, but in a vacuum, Aline probably isn't my favorite play overall.
Ledlum has me thinking Red Rum, trying to fit him into my lineup. I can't do it at 6.2. I have to see it happen first. I don't know that I'm going to be able to go there. A few more in the live chat here. Our guy Nape C. Hustle, loving all the green screens in the GSM universe. Mama Rocks thanking Cam for that shout out. Congrats, Mama Rocks, on the 2 top 8 finishes there.
Yeah, buddy.
On the dollar tonight. And Mike had the fire. There it is. Love to see that fire emoji in the chat.
Yes, you didn't play the night slate tonight. This guy with my own core. Like, what an idiot.
That guy.
What an
You gotta
idiot.
eat your own dog food, bro. What are we doing?
Exactly.
I got busy watching Marvel series on Disney, so
I thought you were going to say you got busy watching your favorite football player, Baker Mayfield, lead the Buccaneers to a playoff victory.
Nah, that didn't happen.
He was juiced up because Lincoln Riley was there watching the game.
Hey, you guys ever see Mike out and about, just make sure that you talk to him immediately about Baker Mayfield, and he will talk to you forever. He really likes that guy.
Lights up like a Christmas tree. Makes his day.
We'll just be your best friend and his Baylor Bears too. All right, moving on now to Seton Hall. 7-man rotation, and the starters are going to play 30 minutes. We know what we're going to get there, but which one of those guys is going to get off there? Richmond is somebody, Eric, I'm going to come back to you. Richmond is somebody that I was hesitant to play last time out because of that price increase, but oh my gosh, did he pay it off anyway with the 50 burger out of the gates, playing like an absolute All-American, Eric.
Yeah, we were a little worried about that price hike. We clicked the button a few times anyways, and it paid off in spades, right? Not only did he put up that 50 spot, but the field was kind of worried about that price increase, so it wasn't all that popular. I get the sense that might change on this slate as he comes in. Like you said, Jay, playing at an All-American level. He's coming off of a 51 and a 44 in back-to-back games, and last year in both games against St. John's, he just completely imposed his will, right? So, the only question is, if you're going to pay $9K for Kadari Richmond, like, where do you find the value to offset that big expenditure? But, even that being the case, like, he needs to be a big priority on your builds tomorrow, and, find that value where you can. If you want to try to get leverage off of him, because I do think he'll be a little bit popular, Dylan Adayawusu, 6.6K. He's the direct pivot. He has the beloved revenge game narrative. He is a former St. Johnny himself. He will certainly be lesser owned than Kadari Richmond. If you can't quite get away from Richmond, you could also look at Adayawusu as a potential stacking partner with him, right? So, the thing with Dylan, like the rates aren't huge overall, but he's just one of these stat sheet stuffers, right? He does it in so many different ways. He can get to 30 or 35 points as his ceiling, and does so on a consistent enough basis to where you feel pretty good about it. So, for me, Mike, like those are the two guys that I think are the biggest priorities on the Seton Hall side, but I mean, Dre Davis is always there, right? Alamir Dawes is someone that we've kind of sprinkled in. Are you steaming up any of those guys, or are you kind of sticking with the two that I called out?
Yeah, I mean, the two things that you like the pace upright, and you like the fact that they don't play anybody off the bench. But for some reason, I'm just finding myself not attracted to a lot of Seton Hall guys in this one. Probably because they're all like, except for Kadari, like they're all $500 too expensive. Dre Davis, like I wish they would give him a little more usage, only a 20% usage rate. I think it's just going to be really hard for Seton Hall to rack up fantasy points even at home here. I mean, this is a team, they don't shoot a lot of threes. They don't assist well. Outside of Kadari Richmond in his assist rate, there's not a ton of assist rate going on out there, and they're turnover machines that we already kind of talked about. So, pretty remarkable how they're winning. I'm finding it hard to play more than one guy on this side. So it's probably Richmond or bust for me. Like Alamir Dawes, I don't know. Like if he's 5K or 5,500, I'm probably playing too much of him in tournaments, maybe closer to a 15 to 20% clip. When he's 6,500, even in a pace-up spot, I'm just not really interested in this one. So, I mean, you can use him in tourneys and stack him up with Kadari Richmond, because obviously he is a guy that fires up a ton of three-pointers. He's typically getting assisted from Richmond, but he's just a guy I'm not going to be using in that mid-tier. There's a lot of guys in there that do far more, that have higher ceilings that I'll be using. Bediako, it felt like he crushed last game, right? Like, ooh. And then you look at it, and he only had 23 fantasy points. Like, he just doesn't shoot the ball a lot. Yeah, he's got to rebound the ball, and he's got to block shots. I mean, and guess who's on the other side this time? It's Joel Soriano. So that is going to be a little bit tougher for him. And he's kind of the one guy that the minutes could be cut. One, because of foul trouble. Two, just because they want to get in, some of the other bigs to kind of throw at, Joel Soriano. So, yeah, man, I'm not in love with a lot. Other than Kadari Richmond's just on another planet right now.
Yeah, he is, and I know Cam last time out was talking about playing Bediako. I played Bediako a little bit and started off that game so hot and felt like he was in for a big one, and then sort of just came back to the mean and
chilled out.
23, which is still, it's okay, but that wasn't going to win us 2K at all. But that's, again, like we're looking for these high upside tournament guys. Does Bediako fit that one this time around? Not with this matchup. I really don't think so. That's another showcase game in the old can there. Make sure you hop in that live chat if you're hanging out with us. List like Mama Rocks and Chris and Jason, Jason, which one did you win?
I think you won the $5 single entry this morning.
That's right, on the early slate. Excellent work there.
What a way to start your day.
Nate, Corey in there, everybody in the live chat. Make sure you hop in there with us. Who did I miss? I think I missed somebody at the top. Mike, sorry about that. Mike, was Mike the one that won?
Oh yeah,
the tournament.
No, he got up there. He finished a little bit above me. That was the tournament Saturday night where Chris got third. I think he got 10th or 11th though. So I think I was like 18th or something. So that was a good deal for the GSM universe.
Yeah, I remember seeing Wits up there for sure. Good stuff, everybody. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. If you haven't already, hop in that chat as we move on to Wake Forest traveling to North Carolina State, a 149-point implied total. And of course, in case you've forgotten, all of these numbers that we use are KenPom numbers. So that's what we base this stuff off of here. So 149-point implied total. Wake Forest, another road favorite, and also favored by a point again. Wake is 28th in offensive efficiency, 63rd in defensive efficiency. North Carolina State is 77th in offense and 68th in defense. These are some good team. This is not just a good slate for DFS purposes. There's some good basketball being played out here in these college basketball streets on a Tuesday. And smaller rotations for both of these teams. Mike, going to start with you here to talk about the old Fighting Tim Duncans, another team where, like, 5 guys are probably going to play 30 plus.
Yeah, you love it for fantasy purpose. You absolutely love it. And they never come in owned. I don't get it. Like, every slate, you find all these guys to, no more than, since the price increases, you don't find them more than 15% owned. So going to go right back to the well and maybe even twice on this side. So Kevin Miller, yeah, start with him. He's 7,500. Man, 28% usage, 28% shot, 27% assist rate, and 38% from 3. So he's a guy that I absolutely love using in tournament settings. No one ever plays this cat. North Carolina State, they're 221st in three-point percentage allowed at 34%, and they're allowing 36% in conference play. So Wake went from 38% in the non-con to 41% from 3. So they are lighting it up. So this is a spot that I want to attack because I want that extra half-point bonus. You can also take advantage of the free throw rate. Kevin Miller here is taking 75 free throws on the year. NC State is fouling a ton and putting people on the line, so you like that for him as well. Just like him overall for tournaments. Hunter Salas, he's 7K. That's probably $500 too cheap for him. I mean, you're getting impressive usage rate, shot rate. He chips and dips, as you guys like to say, 38% three-point field goal percentage, and then taking 92 threes. So I like Salas for both tournaments and cash games. He feels safer than Miller. He's able to pick up stocks on the defensive end, so that kind of helps keep that floor a little bit higher. So he's cash game viable. He's got tourney upside, so definitely like using him. I like the guards. Efton Reed, he's been interesting, right? Like when he was in the 5K, high 4 when he got eligible from the waiver, he was crushing. But now that his price is basically 7,000, he's only got an 18% shot rate and 19% usage rate. Where he's getting it done is rebounds and blocks. He's turning that into double doubles. But guess what? If you score 10 points and have 10 rebounds and block a couple of shots, that's actually not enough at 7K to get you there. So he really needs to start putting up games where he has 15, 16 points to go along with those double doubles and blocks. But he's okay. I think he's kind of cash game viable. I just don't like the way this game sets up for him. I don't know that he really has any kind of ceiling in this one. Maybe I'm wrong. He's a guy that could get you 35 to 40, but I just don't think this is the spot, especially at the price point that he's at. So I also like Hildreth and Carr, Eric. Like these weight guys, man, like the pricing, man, you got to love it.
Yeah, we were given an absolute gift with how this Wake side was priced. Cam Hildreth at 6.5K, another guy that is a couple $100 too cheap, probably $500 or more. And look, you love this team because of that pricing and because of this minutes allotment, right? You mentioned Wake starting to heat up from behind the 3-point line. Cam Hildreth has a lot to do with that. 43% from 3 on 63 attempts. I mean, every single night he's got 35, 40-point upside, especially in game environments like this, right? Like the thing that you like about this one in particular with Hildreth is, he can get it done from 3. He can also get it done from the free throw line, right? Like, the rate at which NC State is putting guys on the line is definitely something of note. Cam Hildreth has taken 70 free throw attempts in his own right? So, he's probably the best rebounder among their guards. At times he kind of takes a scoring backseat to Miller and to Salas, but with so many ways that he can get it done, and that kind of sidecar role probably drawing some ownership away from him. Love how this one sets up for Cam Hildreth in tournament context. And then you mentioned Efton Reed. I kind of like going to the direct pivot and Andrew Carr, right? You save $300. Another guy that can easily get 30 points in a game like this. He is that direct pivot, and you love that he can shoot threes, right? He's shooting 36% from downtown. He's got the highest free throw rate on the entire team. So, you like the profile a little bit better than how this one sets up for Reed, especially in a game that's going to be spread out. I don't mind using them together to be different, but honestly, with Wake is 330th in bench minutes. Like you lock in on these 5 guys. You rotate around them in terms of your stacks, and you take your flames and keep it moving with this Wake side, right?
I'm glad you brought that up, Eric, because this is the type of game where if you are going to stack and you can stack in this mid tier, Reed and Carr Both have that tournament upside to get you there and see those flames. And in the comments, we've got Cam hopping in. Got to play some Reed and Carr. And then Mama Rocks trailing right behind. Love both of those. Circled them both. And then saying that Reed could have done more versus Virginia, but they really didn't need him to score a lot. So here's the deal. Like, this isn't like where you're filling out a third, a 25%, whatever of your lineups using both of these guys. But if you're mass multi-entering, it's definitely something to take into consideration to get a couple of guys in this game and just know, like, yeah, I mean, you've seen the duds. Like, if we say don't game log chase, right? That goes both ways. Like, you know what the ceiling is on some of these guys. And then, like with Reed, like with what Mama Rock was saying, if you know it's there, the double, you know, if you can get to 16 points and 10 boards, and then you got 3 blocks in there as well, then you can get there, right? You can definitely get there. I wish the price was a little bit lower, like Cars, you know, even that $300 haircut.
I'm not afraid to go 2-0 or even 3-0 in this game. I'm going 2 guards. I'm probably just rotating between Miller, Salas, and Hildreth on almost every lineup for cash and tournaments. And then I'm going to get unique on these too. I mean, like you guys said, I don't play the double forward. I just don't like the way Reed profiles. But he's got 40 fantasy point upside. So I get it. But I like using Carr with one of the two, with both guards or one of the guard. Like, it's just, you just like the side, the way that it profiles. I mean, I'm surprised. I guess it's because of home court, right? I just think Wake, like if you're on the betting line, I would take the points with the Wake side. It doesn't feel like this game should be particularly close, but then again, it's college basketball. So,
yeah, you're talking about going 2-0 or 3-0. Is there anybody? I'm going to come right back to you, Mike, for the North Carolina State side here. Is there anybody that the price? You got to like the price points. If nothing else, the price points on this North Carolina State team are much easier to look at. But is there anybody that just like stands out? You can stack a lot on one side and then maybe not even have interest on the side.
Yeah, and saying 2 or 3 on that side, we get to this side. I'm okay with one guy from North Carolina State. I'll go to 2. Let's break this down. Like DJ Horn, here's the thing, right? It's a 9-man rotation. They've been messing around with their lineup for the past couple of days. It gets real annoying when, guys are out there and you're like expecting them to play 30 minutes and they play 18. So that's just Kevin Keats. He doesn't have, Turquavion and Jarkel Joyner that just run out there for 38 minutes or 40 minutes, which was a lot of fun, but he paid $9K for that. So it's a little trickier here. But DJ Horn, like, he didn't start last game, but he still played like almost the whole game. And there's a good chance this game goes over. I mean, both teams having trouble defending the 3 in conference play. I mean, Wake's also giving up nearly 41% from 3. That's not good at all. So it's going to be, these teams don't shoot a ton of threes, but they shoot enough to where, these clips that they're playing defense on the 3 ball. I mean, this is going to be a real high scoring game, which is why you like it for fantasy purposes. And Horn by far is their best shooter. I mean, he's shooting 44% on 103 attempts. He also gives you a 17% assist rate, a 3% steal rate. So I think DJ Horn at 6,800 in that mid tier, I think you got to play him. Even though, I don't know if he's going to start. It feels like he's the safest of all the guys to play 30 plus minutes. He's been playing 30 plus minutes, pretty much the entire year. So you hope that doesn't change. Casey Morsell, I'm just kind of crossing off from the guard pool here. He's 5,300. His minutes have kind of vanished this year. I mean, he was playing big minutes a year ago. He was taking a ton of threes. He's only shooting 28% from 3. The thing about the transfer portal this year is they just brought in a ton of guards. When we talk about DJ Horn, they got Jaden Taylor from Butler. They got Michael O'Connell from Stanford. You got the freshman DJ Parker. So they just have like so many options that they can go to that you're not going to sit there and let Casey Morsell shoot 28% from 3. And he doesn't really do much else. So he's a super shot dependent. So if he's not playing those minutes, you can pretty much cross him off. The other guards here, like Jaden Taylor, he's 5,100. I've lost a lot of money on him the last couple of games. A guy that I would think should play 30 minutes, but he hasn't shot the ball well recently. I mean, he hasn't been over 20 fantasy points in the last 7 games. So his minutes are kind of gone now that we're in conference play. If he gets hot, he's kind of an interesting tournament play just because he's 5,100 and he could play 35 minutes and go off. But the only guy you really, really feel safe with is DJ Horn, even DJ Burns at forward. Like, where he's struggling. Like, that was our guy, man. Like, he was crushing earlier this year, and he's just kind of gotten into a lull. So I think he's interesting as a stacking option or just even a one-off on this side. I'm probably going to wait for one more price decrease to really use the Dancing Bear. So, I don't it's hard, right? Because I want to run this game back. I feel most confident in Horn. A couple of guys got some I know O'Connell got a price increase here. Dennis Parker got a price increase here. But I want to talk about Mohamed Diarra first because I am probably going to lose a lot of money on this guy. He's 3,800. God, don't do this. The arrow's, it's kind of pointing up. He had 13 fantasy points against UNC. He played a little bit more, had 26. That was at Louisville, though. At 3,800, can we get 4X from anybody under like 45, 4,200? And I'd be really in business in this game. Now you can look at 2-2s and 3-2s in this game. If it goes over, you're loving it. He's got nice rates. Like when he's on the floor, the usage rate could be, it's not terrible. It's 18%. Shot rate's only 17. He's got a 46% rebounding rate and a 5% block rate. And he's better at defense than running DJ Burns out there at center who cannot defend anybody, but he's great offensively. So I don't know, guys. Like Eric, like O'Connell, I wish the price increase wasn't there, man. What are you doing with him and Dennis Parker, who round out the backcourt options?
Yeah, the pricing here really made it kind of annoying, right? Like O'Connell 5.2K, like he's below the starting average salary, so clicking his name moves you in the right direction a little bit. But the thing with him, you mentioned Horn not getting the start technically in that last game is because Kevin Keats gave O'Connell that start in the last game. We saw his minutes jump up, past 30 plus for the first time as well. So, in that game, he dropped 28 fantasy points. We can trust Kevin Keats to at least ride the hot hand, at least so we think. His rotations are so wide. So, all of this with Keith kind of has to be taken with a grain of salt. But, coming off of that fresh start, technically with this price increase, he's not a true value option, but he does save you a little bit on that average salary. I guess you can go there, but it's certainly not without its risk. And then, DJ Parker, like you mentioned, another $100 cheaper, 5.1K. He's a starter, but he plays pretty limited minutes. He's like 20, 25 minutes pretty steadily. His game is super interesting. It's just he's not really gotten to that ceiling yet. So at 5.1K, like these 22s, these 24s, like they're not exactly going to make you feel great. And more often than not, he's a little bit closer to 17 to 20 on a night in, night out basis. So, Parker's probably a name to watch if someone goes down in front of him or, if he gets an expanded role in seasons to come. But for this year, there's not really a whole lot of interest with him for me.
A lot of options here on the North Carolina State side.
That's
to look
If you
at.
get it right, you might win a lot of money.
Yeah, no kidding. It's tough, obviously tougher when you've got like the full 9-man rotation to look at, but Diarra is
it's just so bad. Like it's just
think about it. 13, even like the 2 out of the last 4 games. It's not gonna get it done.
It's gonna be a roller coaster, man.
Yeah. 46% rebounding rate. How? What?
That's
where,
a lot.
And he's the only defensive guy they have. Like they have to play him. You got to defend somebody at some point, right?
Give him minutes. Give him minutes for sure. That is the third showcase game. As we are moving right through here, our final showcase game. Oh, before we do, who's checking in with us on Twitter? There, the real Benz.
Hey, the Benzo
on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, Elon's hellhole. Thanks for checking in with us over there as we check in with Butler traveling to Xavier, finally a home favorite here. Couple of implied totals over 70 with Xavier around the 78 mark. What do you know? A couple of really efficient teams that get it done on both sides of the ball here. Let's start with Butler here, Mike. Again, 8 or 9 maybe man rotation here. 3 starters getting 30+ minutes. What are we doing with Butler?
Yeah, I mean, Posh, our guy, right? 6,700. I mean, I feel like he's just you just pencil in your 30 fantasy points. I mean, just nice rates across the board. It's a pace up spot for what's technically, right? 155th in tempo for Butler, 79th in tempo for Xavier. So game's going to get up and down, obviously, with the 151 implied total. You should play 35 to 38 minutes. Xavier's defense, 344th in opponent assist rate. It's even down 2%. During conference play as well. So you'd love the almost 30% assist rate for Posh. Love him for cash. Outside of that, man, it gets a little scary. Pierre Brooks, just so shot dependent. We talked about him last Saturday. I mean, he's like $500 to $700 too expensive. He plays a pile of minutes, so he's live for tournaments. But unless he just goes nuclear from 3, and even if he hits 4 or 5 threes, he typically doesn't get there at 6,400. So. Not for me, really. Jalen Thomas is down here, just a smash play for me last Saturday. Was a little worried about, kind of not really a game lock chase, but if he's gonna be more involved in the offense here, which he definitely has been. He's been on a tear the last few games, and he's a guy that can double, 34% rebounding rate, 5% block rate. Both of these teams, they get their shot blocked often, so there's a bump here on both sides. So he gets a bump on that. I think he's going to be popular because of the price tag of 5,700, which is terrifying because for a guy that has a 16% usage rate and is a guy that plays mid-20s minutes most of the time, it doesn't feel great, especially the guy that fouls a lot. So Jalen Thomas, I sprinkle him here, but not as much as I did the other day. DJ Davis at 6,200. I mean, where did the minutes go? It feels like I'm talking about North Carolina State again, but yeah, his minutes have kind of been sapped here. But if you think he gets hot early and he starts stroking threes, I mean, he has 5 to 6x upside. So I'm not going to roster him. And if somebody plays him, he's probably going to be really low owned. If he beats me, he beats me. I'll just move on to the Wednesday slate. So, yeah, I mean, Jamel Telford, Eric, he's 6,300. I find him a little bit interesting. What's your take on him?
Yeah, a little bit interesting is probably the right way to put it. Like you said, 6.3K. I mean, look, he finally got up over 4x in that last game, put up a 28 spot. His rates are really solid, especially that 15% assist rate. You love seeing that from a forward. And you look through his game log, and all of a sudden he's up north of 34 minutes in 7 straight games, right? So pretty solid opportunity there, pretty good amount of time on the floor. I think if anything, more than anything else, he's probably more of a game stacking option if you're gonna stack up this Butler side. Telford probably has a role to play in that mix, thanks in large part to that 15% assist rate. But more than anything, if you're talking about him just by himself, that pile of minutes that he's getting makes him a little bit more interesting in cash than standalone in tournament.
Going to come right back to you here with the old Musketeers, Eric. Solid 8-man rotation. Those 8 guys getting 10+ minutes apiece. Again, another side here where we can get into a game with a high total, and the price points on the best players on this side of the ball aren't too high either.
Yeah, to say the least, right? Starting off here with the Xavier side, you gotta talk about Quincy Lavari, 7.7K. He's coming off of a down game by his standards, but was 30+ in 3 straight games prior to that, right? So, with Xavier, it's him, it's Claude, it's McKnight. These are guys that are basically locked into 30 minutes unless one of them happens to get into foul trouble, right? And of that lot, he's got the highest offensive rating on the team. So Butler's defense has struggled a bit in the conference. They're ranking 9th out of 11 teams in adjusted defense. Butler's giving up nearly 10 more points per 100 possessions in conference play. So, now that we are in the thick of conference play, like how this one sets up for Olivari, especially coming in off that dud, might draw his ownership down a bit. The other name of note, at least for me, Desmond Claude. You're looking to save a couple $100. You're looking to find a pivot off of Olivari. It's kind of like a 1-1A setup, right? Like, he's probably my second favorite on this Butler side. Super steady. He's getting like nearly 5x in these last handful of games. The thing that really does it for him is he can just contribute in so many different ways, right? Like, you love the 24 and 25% usage and shot rate, but also 15% rebounding from a guard, 21% assists, right? Like, there are so many ways that he can do it. So, for me on the Xavier side, I'm probably looking at the higher end of the pay scale. But, Mike, what do you think about these two and kind of the rest of the Musketeer options?
Yeah, I've got a hot take on Usman here. He's 6,700. Ooh. Yeah, it's probably gonna burn me, but whatever. I find him very interesting for tournaments. He's got an 8% shot block rate, which is a boost on his side, as the Butler side's getting their shot blocked a ton. So I like that for him. Butler also, they can't really defend the paint. They're giving up nearly 55% from 2 during conference play. So he's a guy that is going to make his living inside the paint. So an opportunity for some putbacks, an opportunity for he's got a little bit of a post game there. The price is annoying at 6,700, but I think I'll fire him up as a one-off or even a game stacking option in this tournament. You can put him with one of the 3 guards. The one that you didn't go over here, Eric, is McKnight. You mentioned him, but he's 6,400. Feels good. The recent price drop. He has 35 fantasy point upside. You get the savings off Claude, Olivari, and if you're building like that mid-tier, lineup, like, he slots in real nicely. Both him and Usman, like at 6,700 and 6,400, they slot in very nicely into that type of deal there. So Trey Green, sucks about the price bump. He's a guy that I've been trickling in here and there at like the 3,400, 3,500, and it finally happened. I believe it was Olivari that got into foul trouble last game, and he went off against Providence at 33 fantasy points. He's an elite shooter as a freshman. Next year, he's going to be a monster. Hopefully the price doesn't go too high on him early next year. But for right now, unless one of these big 3 guys gets into foul trouble or gets hurt, I mean, his role a little depressed. Like, we don't know if he's going to play more than 12 minutes a given night. So it's just not guaranteed. Maybe after that last performance, maybe he gets a little bit run, which is kind of scary for a McKnight or an Olivari, or, I think Claude's probably the safest of all those guys. But if he's a guy that can obviously get in there, maybe 4 guards and Usman in there as well. Butler isn't the biggest team, so that could potentially happen. So at 4,300, I guess he's in the player pool for some value, since we're having some trouble finding it. And Jody in here in the comments is pretty funny. Snowed in for 3 days and played so many DFS slates, you've become cross-eyed. I have as well. And Namiksha from Cam here, he's looked good the last 2 games. I've looked at him. That's Yidis Namiksha. I don't know at 4,800 that would be my favorite. I get that it's 4x, but everything has had to really kind of go right for him in these last couple of games. Getting some rebounds here. I mean, shooting it pretty well from the field. He's not a dominant offensive player yet, so I don't mind it, Cam. I don't know. I like the way Usman can just bully these guys inside. Also shot blocking. Like, I think he's super, super sneaky for tournaments, but then again, he's got a ton of risks. I don't mind the Namisha play. I mean, if he can give you 18 and none of these other, Diarra goes for 3, then you're probably way ahead of me.
Man, I just love McKnight, though. We like to talk about players coming down on the other, instead of catching guys on the way up, making sure we're trying to catch them on the way down. And maybe, it's Olivari. I don't know if I want to spend up at 7.7, but I'm really comfortable with McKnight. And before we move on to our tiers, the world famous tiers, as we like to have them here on One and Done, I'm gonna go ahead and bask in the glory that is the live chat right now.
Oh my goodness! Is that a new person?
Number 1 host in fantasy sports, Dr. J. Hey, you know what?
Dang.
I appreciate that. Thanks for the shout out. Happy to be here on a regular basis.
You should see a skyhook too.
Hey, I'm much more of the 3-point specialist. I don't really like to live in the paint per se. And when I am in there, I'm dishing. I'm a drive and dish guy, chip and dip.
Seen it.
But thanks for that love. Definitely appreciate that. Who's that? The Gunner 9. Love it. Thank you so much for that and for checking in with us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you already have not, as we move on now out of our showcase games and hit some plays and fades with the other 5 games in this one. Of course, high tier is 7,500 and above. And yes, I am jumping right onto it first out of the chute. And I am riding that price king. Yes, Zach Edey, I am doing it at 10.5K at Indiana. The one major pay up on this slate. We know his upside is 55, 60 fantasy points. Sure, Kelly Ware can block shots, but the disparity in size here, Edey does what he wants, when he wants. And I got to try to find a way to get him in at 10.5. And then the aforementioned Kelly Ware, I am fading that man. I don't really think, just the opposite, where I feel like Edey is just going to do what he wants when he wants. I don't think Kelly Ware is going to have that same sort of effectiveness against Edey. Indiana's outside the top 100 in adjusted offense, and they are 9 points worse in conference play. So where are these points going to come from? And, Edey draws more fouls than anybody in the country per 40 minutes. So all that spells disaster for Kel Ware at 8.2K. Eric, let's go to you now for a play and fade in the high tier.
Yeah, I'll start with my play, which is our guy Judah Mintz, 7.5K at Pitt. I mean, look, at some point, he's just going to drop a 40 piece on the slate and just break the thing wide open, right? So, this game in particular for Syracuse, this is one that they need to win in order to stay above 500 in the ACC. If they are to win this game, Judah Mintz is going to have a big role to play. The first time they played earlier, previously, he only put up 25 fantasy points in 37 minutes, but he's got a 31% usage rate. Like I mentioned before, that 40-point upside is live on any given night. So I'm going to go with Mintz here as my play. And then for my fade, it's probably more of a public service announcement than anything else. Malik Reneau, the other Indiana forward, 8.1K. I mean, look, Indiana's at home. They'll get hyped up for this game, but I'm not going to go out of my way, playing either of these forwards against Edey and in this matchup, right? So I don't know if you necessarily have to fade both him and Kelly Ware, but in general, I think one of these guys has to be hitting the pine for you for sure. And in particular, 8.1K for Renew, I'm just not really in love with that price, right? So, for me, that's where my fade's coming in this high tier. Mike, round us out with one more play and one more fade.
Yeah, we got to talk about the Alabama side. It's a pace-up spot against Missouri, a bad Missouri team. He's playing lights out. I mean, he should be 9K in this particular environment, plain and simple. So definitely like me some Mark Sears here. It's just, is Diarra going to hit? Is Edis Namisha going to hit? I guess that's kind of the question. If you pay up for Edey, how do you get to Mark Sears? How do you get to Kadari Richmond? It's 40% of your salary. You go, I guess. So that's why Edey, I like to call Jay. I feel like he could put up 55 against that Indiana front line. But then it's who else can you get with them? You know what I mean? So I like Mark Sears if you're obviously not playing an Edey, or if you can find a way to hit a couple of value places and play both of them. But I'm fading Cam Carter here. Look, he's going to play the whole game. They're at home. It's against Baylor. It's 8,300. You can't like everybody, right? That's typically a guy that I like. Now that he's kind of reached his ceiling price, I don't know, man. And it has more to do with a guy in the next tier that is a little bit cheaper than he should be. So the price for 8,300 kind of takes away some of that ceiling for tournaments. So Cam Carter, I'm just not in love with it. So that'll round out to my play and my fade here.
Excellent, Capitano. There, I've been all over Sears, and when I'm not playing Edie, I think Sears is going to be one of my favorite pay up guys there at 8.4, and I agree he is underpriced for sure. Let's move on now to the old mid tier, as it looks like Cam is shouting out his core four already in the comments section. Braden Smith, Noah Carter, Blake Henson, Hunter Salas. Hey, we shall see for sure. And Jody hopping in right before that. If you like Ziegler tomorrow, you got to play a FanDuel lineup, 1,800 difference. There you go. Good shout out on the FanDuel information there.
And Cam Carter is 7,900. So I was looking at somebody else there, but Cam Carter at 7,900, I'm still not interested in. So just wanted to clean that up. My bad, Jay.
Even $400 on the haircut there, still not really interested in Cam Carter there at 7.9. So let's move to the mid tier, and I am going to go first again because I have the microphone, and you will listen to every word I have to say. I'm playing Blake Henson against Syracuse here. This is what we're talking about. Eric, the other day you mentioned how a lot of times we see the huge price jump and then it takes forever for them to come back down. Well, Blake Henson is there. We were locking him in at 7.2, somewhere between 7.2 and 7.5 a month ago. And now he's down at 6.2. You love to see it with that 30-point fantasy upside, that ceiling. Still leading Pittsburgh in usage and shot rate and shooting well above the Heinrich line of 35%. He is actually shooting 41% from three. So I love Henson at 6.2 against Syracuse. And I'm fading Jacoby Walter from Mike's Baylor Bears at 6.9K on the road at the Little Apple, Manhattan, Kansas. What was the stat? Like the 14 remaining
14 of the 16
toughest schedules, 12 of them are in the Big 12.
No, all 14.
All 14 out of the top 16 most difficult remaining schedule. It's the Big 12. This ain't Intramural's brother. Walter's finding that out, and he hasn't put up more than 25 fantasy points in 3 conference games yet. Heading out on the road now, leaving the old Brazos River behind. I am out on Jacoby Walter. But Eric, who are you in on?
Oh, man, there are so many awesome plays in this mid-tier. I will go to our guy, Tyler Perry, 7K flat. I mean, this price is just absolutely juicy, right? Like, this is a guy that was, several $100s more expensive, and we were happily paying that price tag. And then, you pile that, you add that up with just the pile of minutes that he's playing every single night, like into the high 30s, basically out there the entire game. And his rates are insane. He just sops up all the usage for this K-State side. So Tyler Perry is going to be a favorite of mine almost anytime he's on the slate, and certainly anytime he's right around 7K flat. And then for my fade, let's go to Nick Honor, right? I mean, there's a decent chance that this Mizzou side just gets completely boat raced in this game. Nick Honor himself, he's only been over 20 fantasy points one time since December, right? So, like, even though it's a pace up spot, I can't feel good about clicking the name for Honor. So he'll hit the bench for me, and we will head over to Mike to close out the mid tier.
All right, I'm going to do the thing that Jay hates the most in this segment here. I'm going to give you 2 plays from this mid tier. Hey man, they're from the same team, all right? So Aaron Estrada, 7,300 from Bama, or Grant Nelson, 6,800 against those Missouri Tigers. I mean, we already talked about it with Mark Sears. Like, Missouri's just so bad on defense. Like, Nelson and Estrada too. These are the guys that can fill up the stat sheet. Estrada can. He's a guy that can go out and get 28 and 8, and then we know what Grant Nelson can do. And he's had a couple of decent games recently, especially at this price tag where it's going to pay off. The 32s, the 35s. So in this spot, you worry about the potential blowout, and especially since Alabama loves to run out like 15,000 people and have their fans have run the point night sometimes. But Yeah, I mean, they got to be in the player pool when your implied total is nearly 90 points. And the guy that I'm fading is going to be Dan Skillings, the guard from Cincinnati. I'm not going to chase this. He's only averaging 23.6 fantasy points on the season. I'm not paying for an outlier game. I mean, he did get a big bump. I like him as a player too. I mean, he played over 30 minutes last game. I'll just gamble that he doesn't do anything near a 37 fantasy point game again, especially at 6,400. So it's just not for me. And I think we got some comments here. What do we got out here?
It's like Mama Rocks likes Cam's Core Four, and then she's putting it on wax. The fade Edie altogether bold statement, but then she qualifies # no receipt season. So if it goes the wrong way, we didn't hear nothing. And then Jody likes the Sears call, but he wants to know how anyone could fade Xavier Johnson, right?
Oh God, not Xavier Johnson. We're not doing it anymore.
I don't know if I could do that again.
Xavier Johnson could be free, and I'm still not. Like he could be $0 on the slate.
Principled stance.
Just like Mama Rock's taking that stance there of fading Edie altogether. I get it, like because I think even at that price, I think he's going to be owned. I don't know one way or the other if you can get leverage making an Edie play, but it's one way to take it, just fading him altogether. And definitely
that's one way to do it. Enjoy the ride.
That is.
I do it all the time.
But that it can allow you to get to Sears if you do, which is a play that I really like. Let's hit the low tier before we hit the Core Four. The Core Four and more for more, I think is what it's called now. Just some plays here in the low tier. I'll go first again. Latrell Wrightsell, not Sprewell, Alabama guard there at 4.8. I don't know if we didn't really talk a lot of Alabama, right? Despite being implied 89 point total here. We said Sears, Estrada, and Nelson. Like we talked a little bit about them, some individual players. But when we're looking for value here, if you're living in the mid-tier, if you use Edie and you got to find some players, under 5K, Wrightsell, if you want to stack him with one of those other guys with Sears or Estrada or Nelson in that Alabama game, shot dependent, but I like him as a stacking option there at 4.9. Eric, what's your play in the low tier?
Quite literally going low here. Jalen Lowe, 4.4K for Pitt. I mean, look, this is a player that's really coming on lately, right? He's played 31, 27, 25 minutes in his last 3 games. He put up 15, 24, and 18 fantasy points in those games, respectively. I mean, Leggett is technically back from injury, but it seems like he's not really back to himself, not back to 100% quite yet, right? So Lowe has been the beneficiary of that. For me, we probably want to see, that the starters come out and that he's part of that starting rotation to feel good about it. But, a 4.4K guy on a slate that is going to have a little bit of a hard time finding value. Lowe is probably one of those guys that I feel pretty good clicking the button on. Mike, close out the low tier for us with our last play.
Oh, man. I should just call him JCM before I just completely ruin his name live. But
do it.
Jesus Galero Martin. Hopefully that was close. A forward from Missouri at 4K at Alabama. Missouri's rotation, man, it can be a mess, especially in the front court. I mean, he's seen a rise in minutes the last couple of games. He dropped 26 against South Carolina. He's coming off the bench, so he could secure these blowout minutes. I think the implied spread here is like 14 in this game. So I don't know, man. Like this is ugly. Missouri can't defend the 3, and Alabama is like shooting 41% from 3 in the conference. So this one could get ugly really quickly. And then it looks like Cam's got a low tier play, technically in the mid, right at 5K. But we'll count it for this show. Jacoby Coles, TCU back off injury. I just don't play guys from TCU. We didn't really talk about them or Cincinnati. That's an okay game, but TCU just plays so many guys. You got Uday, you got Cork there in the front court, O'Bannon. Like it's just Emmanuel Miller plays some stretch 4 sometimes. So, Yeah, I mean, you can. If Bondego is on the other side, though, I don't want any part of that matchup. He's questionable, though. And you also have Victor Locken, who can do a bunch of different things on the other side against him. So, yeah, I mean, value's hard to find. So I'm not going to say don't do it. Everyone has to be available essentially on this slate from the value standpoint.
Every person in that bullpen is available to go for you in this one. Everybody's got to be available. It's game 7. Everything's on the line. Leave it all out there. Love it. Thanks for hopping in the comments. Cam, as always, Jody hopping in the show late, but getting in that live chat right away. Hope you aren't really cross-eyed from all the lineups you've done, Jody, but we appreciate you letting us know about it. As we get now to the core 4 and more, as we like to say. It's not just a core 4 anymore, because you're getting more than just one core. You're getting at least 2, a cash core and a tournament 4. As we start with our cash core 4 first, you know what? I'm gonna take a step back today. No core 4 for your boy the conductor. No conductor core 4 or cash core. CCC. No.
You don't want to be responsible for this mess that happens tomorrow.
Maybe not. But either way, I'm going to go to Eric the Blue for the cash core 4. What do you got, man?
Yeah, we will start out with the cash core. For me, that has to start with Posh Alexander. 6.7K, like this price tag is just ridiculous. 26 fantasy points or more in 8 of his last 11 games. Plus, you get the pace-up spot against Xavier, so love that. Then going over to Kevin Miller as the cash priority on a juicy Wake Forest side. He's coming in off of 28 fantasy points or more in 8 of his last 9. He's played 37 minutes or more in those last 3 games. So love those guys that are out there a ton. Dalton Connect, I mean, we talked about him in the showcase games, going to be very popular at 7.6K. 38 field goals in his last 2 conference games, 44 and 51 fantasy points in those 2 games. So love that he's coming in white hot. And last but certainly not least, Joel Soriano, 8K flat, 30-plus fantasy points in 11 of his last 15 games, 9 double-doubles in those 15 games. So dude is absolutely filling it up. Love how this one comes together, leaves you with just a hair over 5K left per player. So you're going to have to figure out value. We talked about some of those guys in the low tier, and as we were going through the showcase games. So have to click a couple of those names, and you'll be right back into that warm mid tier with the rest of your cash core.
It's beautiful.
Why don't we just shoot right over to Mike for that old tournament core? Not waste any time. Let's hop to it here. A little more volatility here, but let's win some big time bread.
Yeah, I love that Eric put Kevin Miller in his cash core. I didn't realize he had almost 30 fantasy points in 8 of the last 9. So I thought he was a little more tournament option. I thought Hunter Salas would be more of a cash option. So I have Hunter Salas in the tournament core. I think he's obviously got 40 fantasy point upside, especially at 7,000. So I love him for tournaments. Both of those guys, honestly, they're kind of interchangeable between the cash and tournament cores. We talked about the Wake Forest side. You want to get those guys in. Also in the tournament core, Blake Hinson forward, Pittsburgh 6,200. You know the duds. You know the ceiling. Good luck out there in tournaments. Do not play this guy in cash. Tyler Perry, the guard, not Medea, Kansas State, 7K. You love to see that price tag. You know the ceiling's 40. Aaron Estrada, you know the ceiling's 40. And if you're playing either of the cores, you're going to need some Bama dudes because they're going to score 1,000 points tomorrow, and it's going to leave you with 56.25 left to get you some more mid-tier guys in there.
Bunch of guards there on both of those core 4s. Gonna have to find some value.
Hey, Diarra.
Yeah, well, live and die with us with Diarra. Okay,
No.
When we're using these cores,
Oh man,
we're gonna find him on our rosters a lot just because of the upside there. But to recap, the cash game core 4, Posh Alexander, Kevin Miller, Dalton Connect, and Joel Soriano, and the tournament core 4, Blake Hinson, Tyler Perry, Hunter Salas, and Aaron Estrada. What a night here on One and Done. Getting you ready for that big-time Tuesday slate as we are wrapping things up here. It is already One and Done after dark on the East Coast. It is about 11:30 Central Time here. I believe it is now below 20 degrees here in Central Texas where we are. Nice and cozy, though, as we are getting ready for that slate tomorrow. So let's go to Eric first with some final thoughts on the slate.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it all show, right? Like, you're going to have to make a couple of stands with who you go to find value, right? So, we covered a couple of players that I think are at least worthy of consideration, but there's going to be some uncomfortable choices if you're trying to get up into the top tier. And just a programming note, we still don't know what is going on with that first showcase game between Florida and Tennessee. So as we get updates, we will post those to the One and Done CBB Twitter handle.
No doubt about it. Let's go now to the old Capitan for some captain's comments to round us out.
I love that Eric is just absolutely frozen right now after an hour and a half,
like
90-minute
just
show.
to his bone, like shivering.
I'm about to have like the Andy Reid mustache popsicle going on. It's not a good look back here.
That was something. How do you even combat that? You don't.
That thing had to be so salty.
God. I want to play guys like Kadari Richmond, guys like Zach Edey, but there's a lot of upside in that mid tier. If you just want to build between 5,500 and 7K, you can absolutely do it. I think there's enough upside to do it, but yeah, hopefully some late value news comes out that'll really kind of open this thing up. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to find yourself taking chances on value forwards because I think, or if you play Edey, you're going to have to try and find some value guards. So good luck to you guys out there. If you have any other suggestions, I know Cam was in there saying Coles. We marked Jalen Lowe as a potential guard saver, Martin as well as Diarra at forward if you want to take some shots there. Namisha if you're paying up a little bit. So yeah, it's gonna be tough. But I like these slates because there's not just one guy at 4K that everyone 70% of the field is gonna play that's gonna go for 6x. So that's why we do this. So I'm looking forward to it.
No doubt about it. And if you want to do it with your green screens media broskies and broskets, we've got that link in the live chat for the One and Done Invitational. Boom, boom, right there. Nice and ready for you there. Hop in over there and let's have a little fun. It'll resize if it doesn't fill because it's a private, thing there. But you see the link there. Get in it. Let's have some fun over there. Thank you to Jason B, Cam, Nape C Hustle, Mama Rocks, our guy Wits, the real Benz on Twitter, checking in over there on the Bird app, now the X app, I guess. Jody, snowed in and cross-eyed, but still checking in with us.
Stay warm.
We got Corey, the Gunner 9 with my favorite comment of the evening. Thank you very much for checking in with us. We appreciate everybody for being flash that one more time up there on the screen, production team. That's why you guys are the best. And the Emmys coming your way for sure. Golden Globes or whatever for the production team of One and Done and Green Screens Media. Follow all of us on X. I will follow you back if you follow me. Make sure you hit those buttons. Let's grow this family, this universe that we are doing at Green Screens Media here. We appreciate you. Take care of yourself. Tell somebody you love them. And hey, let's get this bread, baby.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drrodo.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.